In this session, our topic is learning about learning. You will have a chance to examine some of your beliefs about learning, and the perspectives of learning introduced in the textbook will be reviewed. But first, a pop quiz. No worries, this is not for marks. The purpose is to introduce some of the ideas we will be exploring in this course, and highlight any misconceptions you might have. I will read each question to provide you time to think of a response before the video moves to the next slide. You can always pause the video, if you want additional time. True or false? Most children 5 years of age and older are natural learners. They know the best way to learn something without having to be taught how to learn it. False. Many students of all ages are relatively naive about how they can best learn something, and they often use inefficient strategies when they study. For example, most elementary students and a substantial number of high school students don't engage in elaboration as they study classroom material, that is, they don't analyze, interpret, or otherwise add their own ideas to the things they need to learn. Yet elaboration is one of the most effective ways of learning new information. Students learn the information more quickly and remember it better. True or false? When we compare boys and girls, we find that both groups are, on average, very similar in their mathematical and verbal aptitudes. True. Despite commonly held beliefs to the contrary, boys and girls tend to be similar in their ability to perform both mathematical and verbal tasks. Any differences in the average performance of boys and girls in these areas are usually too small for teachers to worry about. True or false? The best way to learn and remember a new fact is to repeat it over and over again. False. Although repeating information over and over again is better than doing nothing at all, repetition is a relatively ineffective way to learn. Students learn information more easily and remember it longer when they connect it with the things they already know, and when they elaborate on it. True or false? Although students initially have many misconceptions about the world, they quickly revise their thinking once their teacher presents information that contradicts what they believe. False. Students typically have many misconceptions about the world. For example, they may believe that rivers always run south. They often hold strongly to these misconceptions even in the face of contradictory evidence or instruction. As teachers, one of our biggest challenges is to help students discard their erroneous beliefs in favor of more accurate and useful perspectives. True or false? Students often misjudge how much they know about a topic. True. Contrary to popular opinion, students are usually not the best judges of what they do and do not know. For example, many students think that if they've spent a long time studying a textbook chapter, they must know its content very well. Yet if they have spent most of their study time inefficiently, perhaps by reading without paying attention to meaning, or by mindlessly copying definitions, they may know far less than they think they do. True or false? Taking notes during a lecture usually interferes with learning more than it helps. Just to be clear, taking notes doesn't mean simply copying what is on a presentation slide, but rather putting information into your words, and writing it down. False. In general, students who take notes learn more material from a lecture than students who don't take notes. Note-taking appears to facilitate learning in at least two ways. It helps students store information into memory more effectively, and it allows them to review that information at a later time. True or false? When a teacher rewards one student for appropriate behavior, the behavior of other students may also improve. True. When teachers reward one student for behaving in a particular way, other students who have observed that student being rewarded sometimes begin to behave in similar ways. True or false? Anxiety sometimes helps students learn and perform more successfully in the classroom. True. Many people think that anxiety is always a bad thing. Yet for some classroom tasks, and especially for relatively easy tasks, a moderate level of anxiety actually improves students' learning and performance. True or false? When we ask children to tutor their classmates in academic subject matter, we help only the students being tutored. The students doing the tutoring gain very little from the interaction. False. When students teach one another, the tutors often benefit as much as the students being tutored. For instance, in one research study, grade 4 students who were doing relatively poorly in math served as arithmetic tutors for grade 1 and 2 students. The tutors themselves showed a substantial improvement in arithmetic skills. True or false? The ways in which teachers assess students' learning influence what and how the students actually learn. True. What and how students learn depend, in part, on how they expect their learning to be assessed. For example, students typically spend more time studying the things they think will be on a test than the things they think the test won't cover. And they are more likely to organize and integrate class material as they study, if they expect assessment activities to require such organization and integration. So how did you do? Adults often have misconceptions about learning and motivation, as well as about effective instruction and assessment practices. I encourage you to be on the lookout for ideas that conflict with your existing beliefs, and to raise your concerns about any new ideas that seem counterintuitive or illogical based on what you already know and believe. So, which would you use as a metaphor for the process of learning? Is learning like snorkeling? Or is learning like carpentry? Pause this video and think about this for a minute. When you have made your choice, list the reasons why this metaphor works. What might be a better metaphor for learning? Think about this for a while. You will share your metaphor and your reasons for choosing it in your next discussion post. As you read your classmates' posts, you will likely see that there are many different ideas about learning. There are also many dimensions of learning, so when you use the word learning, it is important to remember that it does not necessarily mean the same thing to other people. Sally shares her perspective on the next slide. No doubt Sally's teachers would be dismayed by her comments. While Sally did learn 2 new things, teachers expect students to learn more than that at school. This is the definition of learning given in the textbook. The change can be deliberate, or unintentional, as Sally's was, for better, or for worse. To qualify as learning, the change must be brought about by experience. Changes brought about by maturation, such as being able to reach the cookie jar because you have grown taller, do not qualify as learning. Figuring out that by standing on a chair, you can reach the cookie jar, is learning. Temporary changes resulting from illness, fatigue, or hunger are also excluded. A person who hasn't eaten in 2 days does not learn to be hungry. Our definition specifies that changes resulting from learning are in the individual's thinking or behavior. The various theories of learning that have been developed tend to either emphasize the change in thinking or the change in behavior. The behavioral view generally assumes that the outcome of learning is a change in overt behavior, and emphasizes the effects of external incidents on the individual. Overt means that it is a behavior that can be seen, such as riding a bike, reading, telling a story, solving a math problem, conducting a science experiment, playing a musical instrument, drawing a picture, or baking a cake. Thinking cannot be seen, so it is not considered an overt behavior. On the other hand, the cognitive view generally assumes that the outcome of learning is a change in thinking and believes that learning is an internal mental activity that cannot be seen. Your behavior might also change, such as being able to change a tire, but that's because you acquired knowledge on how to do it, which changed your thinking. Both views include a variety of distinct theories. No single behavioral or cognitive theory fully represents that perspective of learning. Over the next few weeks, we will be examining each of these theories in more detail.